I'm Bill Sherck, the man about the woods. Welcome to our Christmas edition of the Minnesota Bound podcast, the stories behind the stories. And today, we've got a doozy. I'm here to tell you about the time I met the real Santa Claus. No joke. How many people can say that? Not that many. It's quite a story from the Arctic Circle. Of course, today's podcast is presented by Connecticut Water Treatment Systems. You know, my family uses Connecticut, and you should too. Also, our good friends at Star Bank, the bank we use at Minnesota Bound, and North Dakota. Plan all your fall hunts at NorthDakotaLegendaryND.com. And don't forget the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources. Okay, the Arctic Circle. Finland, a long ways from our little humble land of 10,000 lakes, Minnesota. And I was lucky enough to get on an airplane a few years back with our director of photojournalism, Aaron Achtenberg. And really the only reason he took the assignment, I believe, was he wanted two things: to see the Northern Lights and to meet Santa. Did you get to see or accomplish either of those, Aaron?
Well, let's say in baseball, I'd be batting 500 on those two goals.
Which is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, in baseball, it's great. But
So you and I get on an airplane. We are assigned by our good friends at Rapala to go to the northern part of Finland to a town called Rovaniemi, which is home to Martini Knives, the knife maker responsible for Rapala fillet knives, which everyone around here has got. And we flew and we jumped between flights and Amsterdam and then Helsinki. What do you remember about flying into Rovaniemi?
boy, it's been a while ago. I remember being excited. I remember it was one of those trips that kind of popped up a little bit last minute. We didn't have a lot of advance warning, enough, but it was, we're headed to near the Arctic Circle or on the Arctic Circle, which is a place I'd never been. And it's right around Christmas time, and it just being excited to get there.
Do you remember all the Christmas lights when we flew in? We flew in after dark. We land at the airport, and there are Christmas lights everywhere. And we knew there was a rumor about, this was a Christmas town and said to be Santa's real life hometown. But holy cow, when the shuttle drove us into downtown Rovaniemi, I was pretty blown away by the things we saw.
Yeah, it was a magical place for sure. There's, just the way it's lit up, it feels like one of those Christmas villages your grandma has at her house, where everything looks magical. Everything's lit up in a interesting way. There's little candles along the streets, and it looks like a Christmas village.
And tons of snow. In all fairness, Rovaniemi is a huge destination for Europeans. They joked it's kind of one of their versions of Winter Wonderland. But I think part of it is that time of year, that part of Finland stays dark most of the 24 hours a day. And so I think they've figured out how to light that town up. All the bridges had tons of lights and colors, and you'd walk down the city streets, and it's the Santa Inn and the Aurora Borealis Lodge, and there were just lights everywhere. And there were also colored snowmobile suits.
Oh man, yeah, there were colored snowmobile suits. Everyone in town was walking around with a one-piece snowsuit, and there were two teams in town:
Yes,
Team Red and Team Blue. And you'd see a family of all dressed in blue onesies walk by, and then you'd see a family of all dressed in red onesies walk by. It was
it was funny because you and I showed up, and they said, "Oh, do you need winter gear?" We're like, "Well, no, like we can handle it. We come from a place that's pretty cold, but most or a lot of folks that go to Rovaniemi don't know anything about winter. So these two outfitters rent winter gear to people. So yeah, there were like gangs of the blues and the reds walking
Yep.
around downtown Rovaniemi in the frost and the
Yep.
fog. Uh,
Fortunately, they were filled with Christmas cheer, so they didn't get into any fights.
yes, Rovaniemi again. I think it got light at. I might have my times wrong here, but like 9 in the morning.
I was thinking like 10:30.
Yeah, and then it'd get dark about
Yeah.
1 p.m.
Yeah.
So
And
there were
I remember one day seeing the sun kind of behind the trees. You know, like this, like you're at your house and you see the sun just starting to get to the treetops, and that was as high as it got for the whole day.
oh man, it was quite a trip. The town alcoholism is a big deal in that part of the world. First off, because you're just a couple of hours off the Russian border, um, but also because it's so dark and there is depression as people deal with these cold months. But all that aside, it is a Christmas village. We go to Martini. The knife factory is unbelievable. Our good friend Paeve Ovo, she shows us around. We document the process of these knives, which is just amazing craftsmanship. And I knew it was going to be a special trip because remember when we were over by the bandsaws and they were cutting all the handles for knives?
Keep going. I'm
All
not
right.
sure I totally follow you. Are you talking about the antlers?
The antlers, they
Yeah.
use reindeer antlers to create handles for some of their knives, but they talked about the leftovers, the dust. It's an aphrodisiac, right?
Well, I can't confirm that, but that is what they said. Yes, I stayed away from the reindeer horn dust while I was there. Although I did see you like pack a whole quart jar to bring home.
Well, I was going to say I can use any help I can get in this world. So, yeah, I was right next to the saw, sniffing as much of that dust as I could. But the old folklore is that it is good for men.
Yeah.
Um, so we were making fun of the guys on the bandsaws who cut all day.
It didn't
But
smell good. I'd also remember that. It kind of smelled like the dentist when someone's getting a tooth drilled.
yes, you were taking video. You very dryly turned away from your viewfinder and said, "Smells like the dentist." So, anyways, we get through that day. Paeve says we're going to go over to the other edge of town. Now, Rovaniemi, I forget, it's like 50,000 people, so it's a little bit of a city, but it's one of those places where it feels like you drive for about 10 minutes and you get from one end to the other. And we go to the outskirts, and there's this glow on the horizon. As we get closer and closer and closer, we realize that we are going to Santa's house. Literally.
Yeah. Yeah, for real.
And thanks for joining us today on the Minnesota Vaughn podcast. it was unbelievable. It's a castle.
Yeah, I mean, when you get there, it feels like it's not made of plywood set up at the shopping mall.
Right.
It's like a giant village with a giant central house with a big spire in the middle. And what I thought was really cool is there's these markers and like a blue line running through the place.
Yep.
Which is the line marking the Arctic Circle, which is cool. I'd never crossed the Arctic Circle, so to actually have it marked out and see it, and then you get cross it, and you're one step closer to Santa Claus.
And it was fun because there were so many people going to that line. The markers were these towers, almost like these candlelit towers or spires, and people would stand and take pictures, and there are reindeer, white reindeer with sleighs all over the place. And yeah, it was magical. So before we get to the part where we actually get to go inside Santa's home, um, we got a chance to go out to a reindeer farm that was not too far away. It might have felt to a lot of people like a tourist trap, but to me, it was something else. I don't know.
Well, I mean, everything's a matter of perspective. You can, if you want to look at it as a tourist trap and roll your eyes, and that's how you want to approach the world, then maybe it could feel that way. But it didn't to me. It was classy. It seemed legit. It didn't seem chintzy. He wasn't wearing a reindeer herder's coat with Nike shoes. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was done well, and it was you know a a taste of that area.
So, reindeer farms, they're all over. And reindeer are a commodity in Finland as, beef cattle are here in the United States. The difference is they don't have barbed wire there. It's just the herds run wild across the landscape. And at this farm, they talked about the life of these Finnish reindeer herders. Essentially, they just, you know, camped out in the open through winter following the herd around. That's part of the story of the martini knives, because they all have this do-it-all knife that hangs off the side of their cloak, so to speak.
Yeah, what was the name of that knife? Do you remember? I can't remember.
You're going to test me here. There were two of them. Maybe one's a lap knife.
Yeah, there you go. A lap knife and a...
Because the area is known as Lapland. But anyways, we go into this place, and they have these permanent sort of shelters set up. I mean, the snow's about neck deep, and it's almost like a wooden teepee type structure. It's a round pyramid, and you kind of sneak in through the door, and here's this big stone hearth in the middle with fire, and it's just going straight up and out the top of this structure. And there's a bench around the outside, soft glow of candles, and they've got salmon on a plank leaned over next to the fire. So they're cooking dinner. And then Matthew comes out. That was his name. And he's one of the reindeer herders, and he's in the classic Lapland garb. And way back, they were into spirits. Not like a witch doctor, but something like that. So he's got this reindeer skin drum, and he's chanting in native language, with the fire crackling. And it was something for me. It was pretty fun to be a part of.
It was really cool. It was really cool. And what I also thought was interesting is that, this is the storied home of Santa. And when you see how these people dressed, it was very similar to what you would imagine Santa Claus looking like. His clothes weren't just fabricated, they evolved from what people actually wore around there.
Mm-hmm. Almost like a long wool cloak,
Yep.
A colorful band, very artistic, had almost like a muckluck on, kind of a leather skinned boot, good for the snow, warm at all temperatures. We eat an amazing meal in that shelter, and then they walk us out under the night sky, and they point to a reindeer and a sleigh.
And this is when you think sleigh, everyone pictures, Santa's sleigh from the movies where you could fit about 14 people in there. This was it was like a 2-man tent. About, if you can imagine that, it was a 2-man sled if you were going to be really cozy next to each other.
It was that night. The 2-man sleigh. So we crawl into this thing together, kind of squish in. And then the reindeer just kind of takes off. There's nobody walking with you, nothing like that. They just walk off into the darkness, and we went on a squeaky sleigh ride. And although I was sharing it with you and felt odd about that, it was just wonderful and fantastic, right?
Yeah. I didn't feel odd about it, but I'm sorry you did. No, it's cool. I mean, how many times in your life are you getting pulled around by a reindeer sitting in a sleigh, north of the Arctic Circle?
Right.
Not many.
Not many. And the trip was just one overwhelming moment after another, new experiences. That's, part of the reason we love travel. And so after that, we get invited to actually go into Santa's house. And that story's coming. But first, we need to pay a few bills, right? You're listening to the Minnesota Bound podcast. I'm Bill Sherck, the man about the woods, along with Aaron Achtenberg, world traveler extraordinaire. And today's episode is brought to you by Kinetico. Do you know Kinetico? Well, the Sherck family, my family, we love Kinetico water because we live in the country and we've got that ironclad well water. You know what that's all about, right? The tough taste, the stink of that water. But you know what? We treated our home with a Kinetico whole home water treatment system. And we also got our hands on Kinetico's K5 drinking water system. And it really changed the way we live out here in the country. All that hard water buildup on your shower heads and on the dishes, all of it gone. The laundry, no more staining in the washing machine. Our boys, they grab water bottles before they go to hockey and soccer, and they always want to fill it with the water at home from the K5 drinking system. If you're interested, please check them out. Call Kinetico like we did and look forward to clean, safe water. Also, a big thanks to Star Bank.
Hi there, Ron Shera here for Star Bank. If you're putting your money into mega banks down the street, who knows where that money's being used? Bank locally. Keep your money local with a community bank that actually cares about you, your family, your business, and your goals. Check out the bank we use at Minnesota Bound. Try Minnesota's own Star Bank. You can find them online at starbank.net. When you call Star Bank, you actually hear a real living person answering the phone. Star Bank has 10 convenient locations around Minnesota to serve you and all the mobile banking products that you need to manage your money. Check out all that Star Bank has to offer at starbank.net.
And we can't forget about North Dakota. Holy cow, what a place. There have been a lot of people visiting North Dakota this hunting season for good reason, too. For us, it's all about pheasant hunting, right? And the state, North Dakota, reported earlier this season that the ringneck pheasant crowing counts were up 15% this year. That's pretty good. And, hunting season has been underway for a bit, and the bag limits are one after another. The reports are so good. Lots of roosters taken this year. And you can't forget that North Dakota is also a waterfowl mecca. That central region is prime habitat for hunting. So my suggestion to you, visit North Dakota. Like I say, where people are friendly and the hunting is better than good. Visit legendarynd.com and plan your trip. Last but not least, we can't forget about our friends at the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources.
I want to talk about Minnesota's wildlife management areas are a vast array of lands across all of Minnesota. And these 1,440 Minnesota wildlife management areas are valued for not only wildlife, but Minnesota's outdoor recreation opportunities. For those of you that don't know, the Minnesota DNR maintains hunter walking trails. They plant food plots for wildlife and develop acres and acres of prairie and grasslands. To find out more about Minnesota's wildlife management areas, go to www.mndnr.gov/WMAS.
Okay. Back to Rovaniemi, Finland. Photojournalist Aaron Achtenberg and I are on a business trip to document life at Martini Knives in the north of Finland. But this town, Rovaniemi, is also home to a pretty famous guy. And one night after work, you and I get invited to actually go into the house. What's going through your mind at this point?
Well, I guess I haven't been that excited to see Santa Claus since I was about 9 years old.
Right.
So, and it was cool. You know, there's a little walkway where people get to go see Santa Claus, and it's like there's this huge. It's like it looks like the clock that keeps time for the universe in there. It's these big mechanisms and gears and keeping track until Christmas night. And it's really cool. The whole thing is awesome.
You know, it was amazing. We're a television crew. Obviously, we've got cameras, and they drilled us at the door. You are not allowed to go into Santa's house with a camera. So nobody who visits gets to take a camera. You can either give away your camera and go in, or you can decide to not visit the home. That's how serious they are about it. And that was amazing.
So we left.
We're out. We're a television crew.
No thanks.
You don't want to play with us, we won't play with you. Oh, we couldn't pass. So we put down the television camera and went in and saw the big guy. And it was a pretty special moment. And Paeve, she obviously has pull in that town because we actually were able to get a snapshot with Santa, and we included the shot in the Minnesota Bound story that is airing this Christmas. So that was really, really a special moment. And for me, it's a bucket list town where I would love to take the family.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just such an experience, the whole place. I mean, it's just really one of those cool, out of the way spots.
You know, it feels very European. It feels nothing like the United States. The snow is epic. The people are wonderful.
The food was wonderful.
Yeah, the food is amazing, including, you know, of course, that night, a reindeer pulls you around in the magical sleigh, and then you go back to the hotel and you eat the reindeer.
Right. Yeah, I think we had reindeer 3-4 times while we were there. You don't want to share that with the kids when you get home necessarily. But.
No, and the other thing that, you know, there's a famous Finnish chef, and I don't know her name offhand, but she had done a lot of the food design in that town. And we would go to breakfast, and they would have this menagerie of fruit shots for breakfast. I mean, there were like 18 of them, right? Right? Yeah. I mean, just native berries, currants, all kinds of it was just over the top.
Yeah, it was.
Good. Every restaurant, you know, it's not like you're walking into a Perkins or a Cracker Barrel. Everything feels homemade. Every restaurant has its own feel. And then on top of that, like, it's time to go home, but nope, we're gonna go snowmobile with the Russian guide.
Snowmobile.
I love snowmobile. Do you need blue suit? No, we're good. But we snowmobile right up to the edge of Russia. We ice fish.
Okay, Sarah Palin.
Wow. we ice fish for these monster.
Oh yeah, monsters.
Finnish perch. which I don't know. In metric, I don't quite know how to describe it outside of tiny,
Tiny.
an
Yeah.
inch.
Not many centimeters.
A small measurement of a meter, sub-meter. Tiny little perch, ice fishing. And then we go into, a Finnish cabin. Just one of the guys' personal hangouts that they get to only by snowmobile during the winter. And we had reindeer stew and by candlelight and, wood stoves crackling. And in spite of your awful sense of humor, yes, we were fairly close to the Russian border, which, it's just amazing, right?
Yeah. It was amazing. It's the landscape and the scenery is very reminiscent to Minnesota. You can see why a lot of Finnish people came and settled in Minnesota because it had to have reminded them of home. Lots of snow, pine trees, lakes. It felt snowmobiles. Yep.
Do you remember his name?
No, and I apologize for my memory on this trip. I don't know if you remember, but I slept about 45 minutes the whole time we were there.
Yeah, because you'd get up to have
foggy.
those shots at breakfast.
Fruit shots. Well, no, it's just halfway around the world. I couldn't reset my clock because there was no sunshine. So I just awake the whole night. But I forgot about the fruit shots.
I believe his name was Ari.
Ari, yeah. Hukanaka Nukaluka.
Nukalakles. In his Russian accent, he said, try and pronounce that. But when he introduced himself, he was Ari.
Yeah.
And we knew we were going to like him.
Yeah.
A guy who was making a career doing snowmobile tours, just jolly, so happy to show us, what was his home and the trails. That's the amazing thing there. The snowmobile trails, you look at a place like Minnesota. Yeah, you can go 300 miles. There, you can go 3,000 kilometers.
Yeah, what he said, they can go all the way. I can't remember what he said. I mean, you can go all the way into Russia, all the way into Sweden, and then as far north as you could ever imagine to go.
Yeah, you can go as far as you want until the petrol runs out. So there you go. Anything else I'm forgetting from Rovaniemi? Not that you would seemingly remember.
Well, there was another great part of the show, if people watch, is you doing the robot dance.
Oh boy.
It's a fond memory of mine.
Oh boy. Yes, in the knife factory, they use robots to sharpen the fillet knives. That's the only part of that process that wasn't handcrafting. And so I felt compelled to move like a robot, at least for a few seconds. But it is amazing. They do that for a very specific reason. They want every single knife sharpened exactly the same. Where some of the bigger lap knives, the thicker, hardier knives, those are all sharpened by hands. But those fillet knives with their flexible blades, they want them kind of computer driven to get them just right. So that was cool.
Yeah, just the factory being magical, and not in a Santa Claus magical way, but it's one of the reasons we brainstormed one of our sister shows is Made for the Outdoors. Seeing how cool things are made, like the Rapple fillet knife that everyone has. It's fun to see that stuff. It's fun to see how it all comes together and the people who do it and the place it comes from and the woodshed and all that stuff. It's cool.
Yes, people. Ari took Aaron out to the woodshed. All right, since you brought up the woodshed, before we go, I got to talk about it a little bit because I thought that was very cool. So kind of across the street from part of the Martini facility, they store all the wood that they use to make the handles. They have two materials, right? Reindeer antlers or wood, and they talked about this local birch that grows, and it grows very slowly, like 50 years to mature this little birch tree, so they can cut it down and make the handles out of it. But it grows so slowly because of the environment there. There's no growing season.
No, there's no sunlight for 2 months in the winter or whatever it is.
So this Arctic birch is just really cool. And it's funny, I'm sitting here at my desk here looking at my martini knife, which I'm going to shake it, see if I can do it without cutting my face next to my headset. See if you can hear that. Probably can't hear that, can you?
Not really.
So I've got a fillet knife with that special birch handle, and it's got reindeer, but on the inside, it's lore in that part of the world. There's a witch's tooth inside the handle that rattles, and that is supposed to bring you good fishing. So far, I've never needed to take the knife out. It just sits here on my desk.
Yeah, one of these days.
But
did you remember the other knife? There's the lap knife. Do you remember what the other one is? Quiz for you. I looked it up.
Lap knife, and does it start with S?
L. Lynx knife.
Yes. And what's the difference? What's the difference between a lap knife and a lynx knife?
So the lap knife is like your heavy duty knife. It's got a heavy, a metal butt on it, and the blade is thick and no contour to it. It's your heavy duty work knife, and that's the lap. And the lynx knife then has a more delicate handle, a more delicate blade for your finer stuff.
With the curve in the blade, or is that the lap knife?
No, that's the
lynx knife.
The lynx knife has the little dip at the end of the blade.
So imagine, and here's why. Imagine you have the knife just pointed straight out in front of you. There's a little curve in the top of the blade. The whole idea being they would reach to the fire and use that curve in the top of the knife to cradle and lift the teapot off the hot coals. So again, these knives were designed for everyday use. But someday I will get the family back to Rovaniemi. We will make sure to bring our own winter coats so that we don't need blue or red snowmobile suits. And, if you want a little taste of this, check out Minnesota Bound, our Christmas episode. You'll see all about it. And if you want to know more about martini and the way the knives are made, check out Made for the Outdoors. And we've got Rapala fillet knives and martini knives. Really, really a special episode. Outside of my uncomfortable moments squished into Santa's junior sleigh with you, it was amazing. Absolutely amazing. And that's part of the fun of our job.
Absolutely. Getting to go to places that 6 months prior you didn't even know they really existed. And then there you are, right in the middle of it.
Yep.
It's pretty awesome.
And all I wanted to do on this trip was show you my favorite little coffee shop in the airport in Amsterdam. A place I've been in and out of just a couple of times over the past, 40 years. I get you the cup of coffee, you drink it, and you go, yeah, it ain't caribou, but it'll do.
Oh, boy.
I'll see you on the next trip.
See ya.
That is our story about the time we met Santa Claus. Rovaniemi. Check out Minnesota Bound. That is our episode. It is time to celebrate the holiday. I hope you and your family are all safe. And on behalf of the entire Minnesota Bound team, happy holidays. Hey, this is the Minnesota Bound podcast, the stories behind the stories, presented by Connecticut Water Treatment Systems, clean, safe, great tasting water. Our good friends at the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources. Also, North Dakota, Plan your fall hunt at legendarynd.com and Starbank, the bank we use at minnesotabound.com. We'll talk to you next week. Until then, don't forget to introduce a kid to the great outdoors.